Welcome to Let's Thrive Postpartum.
Welcome back to Let's Thrive Postpartum. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Ashley.
And we are so excited for you all to meet our new mom guest today. Mariela De Santiago is the host of New Mom Talk podcast and also runs a Carlsbad Moms Walks group. She and her husband in June 2020 relocated from San Francisco to sunny San Diego, and they absolutely love it. But before becoming a mother, she worked as a special education teacher and fitness instructor. She taught yoga, bar, kickboxing, Pilates classes, and juggling motherhood with her passions for education and wellness really sparked this idea for her to have this Best Moms podcast and community to help other new moms.
It's always so fun when we get to talk to other podcasters, and she's great. She hosts so many different experts on her podcast, and today we're just going to talk with her about what her podcast looks like, what kind of experts come on, what field or areas, like what need is being filled, and just in general, like why it's important for expectant and new moms to have resources that are easily accessible, which, as everyone knows, is Kelly and I's whole goal with Thrive Postpartum, is making sure that moms have the information that they need and that they want, and you can find it easily and get prepared for motherhood. So we think you're really going to enjoy this and hope you check out her podcast too.
Mariela, thank you so much for being our guest today. We are so excited to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
For those of you who don't know, could you give a quick shout out to the name of your podcast real fast?
New Mom Talk podcast.
Awesome. Perfect. It's always fun when we get to chat with other podcasting people. Kelly, you want to get us started with their first question?
So we kind of we'd love to ask everyone this who's had a child because it's so different, but so similar for so many of us. Mariela, before we get into everything, if you could think of what your motherhood journey has been like, how would you describe it in one word and why?
Growth, because I feel like I am constantly learning, not only learning how to parent a child that's getting bigger by the day, but also learning a lot about myself through this fun journey.
Yeah. For just a second, I thought you said gross because I'm in a bit of a gross phase with my own children right now. And I was like, yes, it is. It's gross.
Like, wow, a little bold there. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
No,
I mean, there are definitely like the gross parts, the poopy diapers, but hey.
Yeah.
But
growth is a good word. I think kids require it and encourage it. And, whenever we stretch to kind of meet those opportunities, it's always a good thing, just hard.
Agree. And I feel like maybe it's just me, but becoming a mom, and especially in those first toddler years, you grow so much as a person yourself that I was very different than I was 2 years ago. And I'm sure in 2 years from now, we're going to be very different again.
Yeah.
Great word. I feel like that just resonates with so many of us.
Yeah. I like it.
So Mariela, let me ask you this. So we just talked about the New Mom Talk podcast and growth. How does your podcast relate to your experience becoming a mom, and how did you start it? What's your goal?
So going from having been a teacher to then staying home once I had my son, I would go on walks, listen to podcasts. I was trying to essentially find parenting podcasts that were going to give me answers to the topics I was searching when my son was napping. I was sleep deprived. I was Googling anything and everything, you name it, from like clogged ducts, which I didn't know was a thing until I had them, to the differences between cloth and disposable diapers to starting solids. And I was just finding a lot of contradicting information. And with that, I also found I was having a hard time finding any podcasts that were giving me that information. A lot of them were more like personalized stories. I needed the evidence. For me, it was just give me what I need to know. So after my search, after finding that I was just too exhausted to figure out what was accurate on Google, I was like, I got to create this podcast. I can't be the only one out there that is looking for this information. So I did. I decided that episodes would be short, about 20 to 25 minutes. I bring experts on to focus on a very specific topic. So let's say pelvic floor postpartum, and talk about like your pelvic floor postpartum and potential symptoms or different concerns you might have. So that was kind of like the drive there. I also love podcasts because as a mom, you are so busy that you could actually go for a walk and learn while you are walking or load the dishwasher.
Yeah, multitasking at its finest.
Yes, yes. So I did that, and since then I've loved it. I feel like I am just constantly learning, not only from like my own personal experience reaching out to different guests, but from potential guests or listeners reaching out to me with topic ideas that I just wouldn't have thought of, because we can't experience everything. Your experience is so unique that you definitely need different ideas from people that are going through something you're not, because again, other people might still be going through that even though you're not.
Yeah. No, that's so true. One, it's interesting. And we've talked about this, like there's so much knowledge out there, right? There's so many resources, so many things to learn about pregnancy and your body and all these things that happen, that it seems like all moms learn after the fact, like later on. And I know I've tried in my own practice working with like pregnant moms of like, how can we switch some of this mindset over to be more proactive, right? Like to do some research, to get prepared, to have a plan, because there's so many things that you find out it affects, millions of women. And you're like, how did I not even know what that was? Like, how did I not? You said like with clogged ducts, mine was the same thing, like having a clogged duct and all this. And I was like, what is happening? Oh my God, like this is something horrible. No, it was not. But there's so many things out there, like in the whole world of motherhood, that's like, I don't know. It just seems it's like mysterious until it happens and then you know about it. And I don't know. I love it because I think it's so nice for moms to have so much more information up front.
Yeah. And, I feel like we focus so much on the preparation for baby as far as the registry goes, right? You prepare for like their crib, even though they're not going to be in it for a while. You prepare for having like the most expensive bassinet that you might only use for 2 months, and it ends up costing you hundreds of dollars.
A mortgage payment. Yeah.
Yes. And it's bizarre that we focus so much on the material items and not on the preparation of like, you and your body might go through this. So just know some little facts and who you can reach out to, or it might should have in case.
Yeah. It seems like that would be an obvious thing, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
You would think. You would think.
So true. I think I had probably 5 different types of pacifiers for my daughter, because what if she liked one over the other, over this one? I had every brand, glow in the dark, you name it. I bought all of them. She liked the one that came home with her from the hospital. But did I ever once think, what is my plan for me after the first 2 weeks? Right? I mean, the first 2 weeks, I think a lot of moms think, how am I going to survive this immediate time? But then week 4, 6, month 3, all of that comes into play. And it's so helpful, like you said, Mariela, if we had a plan and you were prepared while you were pregnant to look after yourself. What have you seen in your conversations, in your own experience? What type of preparation work is really beneficial to moms?
So I always tell moms, have a list in advance. A lot of the specialists that you're probably going to reach out to are going to potentially take your healthcare insurance, or you're going to need them to, right? But when you're in it, it's really stressful and hard for you to go on and figure out accepts my insurance. How far are they? Can I even get an appointment? Are they accepting new patients? Right? That just the number of questions I asked there for one specialist. Imagine the number of specialists that you need. So that might be, you might need a lactation consult. Lactation. Why am I blanking on that?
Consultant.
Thank you. I was on
One
the
of those
right
days.
Mom brain, right? Mom brain at its finest, everyone. You might need a therapist. You might need a pelvic floor specialist. So just that alone, that's 3 different specialists that you're probably going to have to search for if you do need them. So why not have that in advance so that in case you do need it, you can pull that paper out when you're in, I don't know, D5, instead of trying to figure out sleep deprived because, baby number 1, you really aren't sleep deprived unless you couldn't sleep in your 3rd trimester. So those are little things that you can do that really don't require a lot of time or money.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
please.
And that's something we talk too about just with like mental health in general, with the Thrive, like the postpartum mental health plan that we have. Part of it is, yes, like getting getting all the resources together, doing the research ahead of time, and also just thinking through like the logistics of going back to work or not. Who are you going to ask for help? What can people do around the house? Like, how are you going to talk to your spouse if you start feeling like something's not right? What can you say? All these different things that we all know when you're in those early weeks of motherhood, and especially if you have postpartum depression or anxiety, that even the smallest task of like finding a doctor, it just seems like this insurmountable mountain. It's like, I can't do one more thing. I can't make the calls and like look it up and find the insurance. It just is so hard. And so any kind of plan, getting these different things together, can have a really positive impact on mental health in general.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a pediatrician before you leave the hospital, right? Like, they make you assign a pediatrician. And you know nothing about this person other than they probably take your insurance. So why not have all of that for everything that you might need? Because you really just you can't care for another human if you yourself are not taking care of yourself. Like, yes, you're going to keep them alive, but you're going to be very frustrated, overwhelmed. You're not giving yourself any time to just like let your hormones do the craziness that they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or you're still like, I was trying to keep up with the laundry, make the bed, do all of the things that I thought I was going to be able to do because I wasn't going to work all of a sudden, but I wasn't sleeping either. And next time around, I would 1000% add things to my registry that are not for a baby, but for my postpartum recovery. Like maybe say, why don't you donate to a house cleaner fund or for a postpartum doula, or money that can go towards pre-made meals that's not DoorDash, more like those healthy postpartum nutritious meal plans that are out there.
Yeah. I know. I saw, I don't remember when it was, but there was either a friend of mine or someone on the baby registry. You could buy the mom like a pedicure and a manicure, like for her first time out, like after. And I was like, what a great idea. That's really wonderful, because you're right. Like, it's all these things. I think even like moms and dads, it's like, oh, we'll be fine. We'll just keep doing everything that we've like always done. And then you kind of get in it and you're like, oh dear, this is really, really hard. And I wish that I had like made some plans, not because, and I tell parents all the time, like, not because you can't do it, right? Like, asking for help and seeking out resources isn't a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you can't do it. but like, why work harder? This time of your life is already hard enough. Like, why work harder if you don't have to? Like, if there's something that makes it easier and that gives you more time or gives you a little more space to just relax and recover and bond with the baby, like, that's okay. But people have a hard time with that sometimes. They're like, I don't need help. I can do it by myself. Or it's just,
And people are willing to help, right? Like
oh,
people want
yes.
to come and meet your baby. I would also do this next time around. You come over and you meet my baby, you better believe that there will be a task sheet that you can select from and do something. That might
Yep.
be loading the dishes or doing the
Yes.
baby's laundry.
Yeah.
Ashley and I literally just had this conversation this week about that will be the next thing we do is you come over, they're already on the refrigerator for you. Please pick one of these things. I appreciate it. That
Yep.
way you're not even thinking of what do I need to ask help for. It's
Yeah.
there. Please pick
And then you're like, well, let me get this out for you or let me do that. No, if you just have it ready, people are so willing to do a little task like that because especially if they've gone through it themselves, they know that you could use the help.
Yeah. And it just streamlines like communication with in-laws and stuff like that. I have so many clients that are like, well, I don't know how to ask, or I don't want them to think X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, make a list, put it on the fridge. And when they come over, say, please pick one thing. That'd be great. Thank you. I was like, then you're not really asking. You're just pointing them in the right direction. So, yeah.
And they don't have to be very difficult things, but little things like that just really support you. And I think your mental health, like for me, having a messy house stresses me out and my mind just gets so cluttered. But when you don't have the energy or the sleep, the baby is going through whatever the baby is going through, you're in this whole new world. Like it just adds to it. If you could have any little thing done at home, it just kind of eases your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So Mariela, let me ask you about this. At the beginning, you were talking about how you were exercising right up until you gave birth. And I know that you have mentioned you have a fascination and a certification with yoga. Can we kind of make a switch over to talk to moms about prenatal, perinatal, postpartum yoga, what that is like, benefits? Kind of give us a little bit more about your experience with it.
Yeah. So I was doing yoga almost every day up until I had my son. And I actually earned my yoga certification when I was 6 months pregnant. But for me, it was a lot of like the stretching that I felt kept me more mobile. And it helps, it helps with just like the aches and pains and the discomfort. It's kind of like, I mean, it's no different than any normal person that if you are just sitting, your body's just used to sitting, you're obviously going to be achy when you have to start moving. So if you stay active, it's a lot easier for you to feel or to not feel those aches and pains, right? Like, for example, a desk job. If you are sitting at a desk job all of the time, your hip flexors are shortened because they're always in that sitting position. So you're always going to feel so achy. No different than being pregnant. So if you're just keeping them constantly stretched out, active, it's going to help alleviate those discomforts. There's that. That was one of the reasons why I did it. Another reason was the breathing, which relates to giving birth.
Yep.
Right. A lot of what you are told is like the breathing part. I had a C-section, so I didn't have to go through this part. But that was kind of my other piece was I wanted to like prepare with like the mindfulness and being able to control my breath and really connect with my body. So that's another benefit, which is something that's also, if you do take hypnobirthing classes, it's kind of something that they help you with, right? With teaching the breathing techniques.
Yep.
In your initial postpartum stage, you can exercise for minimum 6 weeks, but you can practice the breathing. Again, connecting with your breath, your body, your core. Those are all it in line with one another, especially if you're able to really sit there and be mindful of like breathe into your belly and release all of that air out through your nose, right? You kind of get into it and can actually visualize your breath doing that. If you're ever in a yoga class and you listen to the instructor, like you visualize it, you can see all of that, which is really cool.
Yeah. I love in my practice incorporate a lot of mindfulness and mindful breathing techniques. And it's so funny because most people, they're like, if somebody asks me to breathe, I'm just like, if you say that one more time, it doesn't work. And you have to go in and explain, like, yes, everybody's breathing, but there is so much that you can do through breathing that helps your body relax, whether it's because of anxiety, or that's why they tell you to do it when you're giving birth, because it is helping like force your body to relax. Because, of course, giving birth is scary. It's painful. You tense up. Everything's really tight. That doesn't help the baby come out. And so I love when moms are able to incorporate yoga into their like pregnancy routine on the front end, because I think it just has so many benefits through the birth process, postpartum. Just it's another tool in the tool belt of like, hey, if I feel stressed, I know that this helps. Or hey, if I'm like really tight or something hurts, I know that this can help. So that's really wonderful.
Yeah, and you made such a valid point with the breathing because yeah, I get that people get so frustrated when they're like, just relax or calm down. Obviously, I hate those too, but if you're actually doing the breathing with them, I do this with my toddler when let's say he falls or he gets hurt or whatever it is that he's crying, we do the deep breath in, deep breath out. And he is almost 2.5 and he practices that and it really does help him.
Yeah. Yep. It'll help even more when he really gets into his feelings as a 4 and 5-year-old. That's where I am at with mine. He loves to remind me to take a deep breath when I'm starting to get upset. So
see, there you go. That's great.
They're always
practicing.
listening. They're always listening.
Mariela, I'd love to ask you kind of one good kind of follow-up final question as we're wrapping this up. So between all the experts that you've brought on to your podcast and the moms that you are talking with in your moms group, is there kind of one common thing that you've been seeing from moms who are struggling with their well-being that's been helpful? Or one kind of good tip of advice that you've seen work that you might want to share with our listeners?
Oh, I know this is going to be really hard and not shocking for anyone. Self-care. Literally find time in your day, and it does not need to be an hour. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do something for yourself. And that can be meditation. That can be putting a mask on your face, taking a bath. Obviously, you have to figure out what the time frame is, but there's so many things that you can do to give back to yourself to be like, feel like myself again. All right, back to momming.
It's so needed.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about that a lot.
You need to. You need to. I am like a big cheerleader for self-care. I do it 30 minutes a day. It's my time.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're probably such a better, more engaged, active mom for the fact that you took 30 minutes for you because you deserve that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're constantly giving ourselves. And we're giving so much to our kids that we need to be able to give to ourselves just a little bit.
And it's also a gift to our kids when they know like that it's important for mom to take care of herself. It teaches them like it's okay for them to take care of themselves, and as they're growing up, that it's okay to do things that feel good for you. It's okay to rest when you need to rest. It's okay to pay attention and just be mindful of like what you need. I'm hoping that through a lot of this, self-care is like a big phrase, or it's 2 words, but whatever right now. But I do hope that that's one of the outcomes with moms practicing it, is that like sometimes this next generation of kids growing up it's not going to feel like such a foreign concept.
Right. And you also want your kids to remember you as somebody that gave to themselves too, and not just like, oh, yeah, I remember my mom being tired all the time because she was always doing things for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So true. Thank you so much, Mariela, for coming on and talking with us about self-care and prepping for postpartum and just sharing your expertise. This has been lovely. We really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I've loved chatting with you guys. Could talk hours more. I know. We can keep going. So thank you.
Of course.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today. And thank you so much, Mariela. We always love talking and reinforcing the idea that having a plan, having resources, getting some of this stuff down on paper while you're pregnant just makes your postpartum experience that much easier. And we know that it can also help mitigate certain mental health concerns that may arise for postpartum moms. We're going to include in the show notes the Thrive Mental Health Postpartum Plan. The link will be down there if that's something you would like to check out. And we encourage everyone to also check out Mariela's New Mom Talk podcast and check out some of the experts that she has hosted and hope that they answer some of your questions. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please be sure to hit subscribe, leave us your feedback, and give us a 5-star review. For even more support, visit us at wethrivepostpartum.com/podcast to sign up for our newsletter and learn more about our community. Remember, you are not alone. With support, you can feel better. Together, let's thrive postpartum.